This is Notes 6.9. You're solving word problems today with factoring. Make sure you have your notes, your calculator, and a pencil out. All right, first problem, here we go. It says find two consecutive integers whose product is 72. So the first thing you need to do is identify your variables. We're going to let n be the first number. And since it's consecutive integers, n plus 1 is going to be our second number. Now, it said product. Product means multiply. So we're going to take n times n plus 1 in parentheses, and it's equal to 72. All right, time to do the distributive property, rainbow, n times n squared. Now we're going to do n times 1, that'll be n, equals 72. However, as we've done, you know that we can't factor unless it equals 0. So we need to subtract 72 to both sides to make sure that our equation equals 0. So we're going to get n squared plus n minus 72 equals 0. So now that it equals 0, let's factor. So right now you guys should be factoring, finding the factors of 72 that are going to add to get 1. So we're going to have n plus 9 and n minus 8. Don't be sloppy. Remember to set this whole thing equal to 0. Now, break each piece up. So we're going to do n plus 9 equals 0. So that's negative 9. And then we're going to do n minus 8 equals 0. So n equals 8. However, those answers aren't consecutive. So when we write our answer, we need to write it as consecutive. So the answer would be 8 and 9 because they make 72. Or negative 8 and negative 9 because their product is also 72 as well. Okay, time for number 2. We're going to find two integers whose sum is 15 and product is 54. This is the most complicated problem we're going to do today, so make sure we're paying attention. So we have two integers, x and y. X is the first number, y is the second number. So our first equation says sum to 15. So sum means add, so your equation is going to be x plus y equals 15. The problem also says their product is 54. Product means multiply. So x times y equals 54. Remember, when we have two variables, an x and a y, you have to have two equations. So what we need to do now is the substitution method. Remember that, where you have to solve for a variable and substitute it in the other equation. So right now I'm going to take the top equation, x plus y equals 15. We need to solve for either the x or the y. It really doesn't matter which one we're going to solve for. So I am going to solve for the y. So we're going to subtract x to both sides. So we get y equals 15 minus x. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and circle 15 minus x, and we're going to substitute that in for the y in the bottom equation. So now we're going to do x times 15 minus x, and we're going to set it equal to 54 because that's what the equation says to do. So now we need to rainbow distributive property Rx. So we're going to take x times 15 is 15x. Then we're going to do x times negative x, which is negative x squared. And all that's equal to 54. But we have a problem. X squared can't be negative. And this all needs to be set equal to 0. So we're going to add x squared, and I'm going to subtract 15x to both sides. That way it'll equal 0, and x squared will be positive. So that'll make everything better. So 0 equals, and now when I write it, I'm going to write it in order, x squared minus 15x plus 54. You don't have to do it, but that makes it easier because that's the way we know how to factor it. So go ahead and factor this for me. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to get 54 and add to get negative 15. Don't forget that 0. Don't be sloppy. So you should get x minus 9 times x minus 6. Separate that into two equations. So we have x minus 9 equals 0. So x equals 9. And then you're going to do x minus 6 equals 0. So we have x equals 6. So that's our answer. We have two answers like we're supposed to. They multiply to get 54. They sum to get 15. We're all set. Okay, the third problem is the easiest one in all of the notes. It says the product of 7 less than a number and 8 less than a number is 0. So n equals any number we want it to be. Product means multiply. So it's going to be n minus 7 because it's 7 less than. And we're going to multiply that in another parenthesis by n minus 8 because it's 8 less than a number. It already equals 0. It's already factored. That's about as easy as it can get for us. We have no other work we need to do. So we can go on ahead and break it into our two equations. Okay, since it already equals 0. So we're going to do n minus 7 equals 0. And we're going to do n minus 8 equals 0. So n equals 7 and n equals 8. You're probably thinking, how does this make sense? But if you take the number 7 and do 7 less than it, you're going to get 0. So when you multiply 0 by any number, you get 0. If you take 8 and take 8 less than it, you're going to get 0. So those are our two answers, just like we're supposed to have. All right, last problem of the notes. The square of a number minus the number is 20. So again, let's make n any number. Square of a number, so that's n squared, minus the number, well, our number is n, is 20, equals 20. Problem, the equation doesn't equal 0. So the very first thing we all need to do is subtract 20 to both sides. So now we're going to have n squared minus n minus 20 equals 0. So now that it equals 0, you can go on ahead and factor. So find two numbers that multiply to get 20 and subtract to get negative 1. Okay, so hopefully you factored it as n minus 5 and n plus 4. It's going to equal 0. Don't be sloppy. Don't forget your 0. Break it into two equations for me. N minus 5 equals 0. And n plus 4 equals 0. So n equals 5. And n equals negative 4. We got two answers just like we were supposed to get. On the next slide are some helpful hints for your homework tonight. So go on ahead and pause the tape so that you can write these down to help you with your homework.